Hello, Class 4J, and welcome. I have a question for you today. Would you rather live in a world of darkness, or would you rather live in a world of light? Have a little exercise for you to do. We have to close our eyes, though, okay? So let's close our eyes. Let's imagine ourselves in a place of darkness first. Maybe it's a bit fearful. Maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe even a little bit sad. Now let's imagine ourselves in a place of light. Maybe it could be on a beach, swimming pool, or you're fishing, or you're riding your bike in the park, or you're snow tubing down a big, white, fluffy snow mountain, and you're happy. Okay, let's open our eyes. We're going to get to that question in a minute, but first let me introduce myself. My name is Miss Rowe, and I'm your 4th grade catechist at St. Gabriel's this year. Welcome, Class 4J. I wish that we could be in a classroom together and learning about our faith, but unfortunately we can't. But with prayers and faith, I'm sure we'll get back to a classroom soon and we'll be able to be together. I did leave a message on Google Classroom and I told you a little bit about myself and I asked you to share a little bit about yourself. Not all of the students responded, so if you didn't respond, can you please go on and tell me a little bit about yourself? This way I can get to know you a little bit better. Okay, so let's get back to the question. Would you rather live in a world of darkness or would you rather live in a world of light? Well, I know where I would want to be. I would want to be in a world of light. Not so much in a world of darkness, but I have had times when I have been in that dark place. And most of the times when I've been in that dark place, it's because of sin. So I've been reading your book along with you, Alive in Christ, and I hope that you're enjoying the stories. I hope you're enjoying the prayers. I hope you're enjoying the activities. And the reason why I brought up the world of would you rather live in darkness or would you rather live in light is because the first chapter talks about sin. It starts off with sin. I don't know if that's getting a good start off on the year talking about sin but we have to, right? So it was talking about Adam and Eve, which I'm sure you all know the story about Adam and Eve. And Adam and Eve, how can we explain Adam and Eve? Adam and Eve, they're like those children in your classroom that make it bad for everyone else. You see, Adam and Eve, they disobeyed God. And because they disobeyed God and they sinned, it made it bad for all eternity, for the rest of the world. So when a baby is born into this world, they are now born with sin. Imagine that. You're just in this world 2 seconds and you've already sinned. Well, it's not because of you, it's because what Adam and Eve did. But the church has made it right. God has made it right. Because when you receive the sacrament of baptism, right? That sin is washed away. It's all gone. You get to start off all fresh on a clean slate. So you have no more sins. But you're just a little baby, so you're really not going to sin at all. And when you're young, you really don't commit too many sins, right? Right? Hey, commit little tiny ones. Sometimes you don't even know you're committing a sin. It's the ones when we know we're committing a sin, that those are the bad ones. So we have this sacrament of baptism and our sins are washed away and we no longer have any sins. But we're not perfect, right? We're not perfect. No, Miss Rowe. We're not perfect. Who was perfect? God was perfect. Jesus is perfect. But we're not perfect. So because of Adam and Eve, our human nature was weakened. Meaning that we're going to sin again. Unfortunately. Yes, we are. We're going to sin. All of us are going to sin. So, by baptism washing away our sins, but we still have our human nature weakened because Adam and Eve committed these sins. We're going to sin again. And the other thing that God has given us is free will. Free will. What's that? Not Free Willy. not Free Willy, free will. Free will is God has given us the ability to know right from wrong. The ability to do what's right or the ability to do what's wrong. Now, sometimes we do what's right and other times we do wrong things. Are they always intentional? Absolutely not. Are sometimes they're intentional? Those are the ones we have to be concerned about. So when we sin, we're not in a good place. As a matter of fact, remember, go back to the question, do you want to be in a place of darkness or light? We put ourselves in a dark place. We want to be in a place of light. We want to be in that happy place. We want to do what's right. We want to share our light. We have this light to share. It says, I want to do what's right. I want to follow the laws that God set in place. Those laws. Oh, I forgot. The laws. I think they're the 10 Commandments. If you follow on page 77, the 10 Commandments, I was reading here, are these 10 Commandments? Well, these 10 Commandments have a lot of shall nots on them. When I was reading them, everything said shall not, shall not, shall not, shall not, shall not. What can I do? Obviously, I can't do much with all these shall nots. And I'm guaranteed to commit a sin with all of these shall nots here. There's not one shall do. Well, God had to put these laws. He gave us free will, but he had to put these laws in place for us because we needed a guide. You see, these commandments are more of a guide. They're like not disciplinary in nature, right? God doesn't want to punish us. He wants us to follow and to follow our faith and follow this guide that he set before us on things that we shall not do. But they're not that difficult to follow if we follow our faith. Do you get me? Okay, maybe not. So, we have all of the rules of the road, right? I mean, if we didn't have laws and rules in society, right, we wouldn't be able to function. So say, for instance, there's no rules, there's no traffic laws, there's no stop signs, there's no stoplights, there's no one-way streets. Where would all the cars be going? They'd be going in all different directions, right? Well, God doesn't want us going in all different directions. We have to be on one thing. We have to focus on God. We have to focus on Jesus. That's what we have to do. What would people be doing if you didn't put these guidelines? Thou shalt not steal. People would just be going into a store and taking objects out of the store and leaving and not thinking anything of saying, was it wrong or was it right? Right? We can't have that. So he put these guidelines in there for us. But if we're faithful to his word, if we're faithful to God, right, and we're faithful, we don't have to worry about these commandments because we're already doing the right thing. But when we're not, that's what puts us in a dark place. That's when we separate ourselves from God and what he really wants from us, right? So we have to live our faith following the 10 Commandments. Now you say, okay, we're not perfect. No, we're not perfect. But we do have that sacrament of reconciliation, remember, that God has allowed us to sin and sin and sin and sin, and he forgives us, right? So even though we may not follow what he has intended sometimes, right? He forgives us. He just keeps forgiving us. Imagine having a friend and that friend just is mean to you all the time, and you keep forgiving and forgiving and forgiving. Wow, I don't know if I could do that. God is that friend. God is that friend that keeps forgiving you as many times as you sin. As many times as you sin, he will forgive you. Now, if you're sinning every single day and doing the same exact thing, well, and you're going to confession and you're confessing this all the time, and you're not making any attempt to make it right with God, well, we have to try a little bit harder now, don't we? Because then it becomes intentional, right? Because sometimes we do have small sins that are maybe not intentional. Like maybe you were mean to your brother or sister, or maybe you were disrespectful to your parents. But after a while, you realize that, okay, I committed a sin here, and I'm going to try and make it right. And next time, you know, before you commit that sin, to stop yourself, right? So I went through these sins. And like I said, there was a whole bunch of shall nots here. And I mean, I went down the line, and I went to the last sin here. It's on page 77 in your book. And the 10th commandment says, you shall not covet your neighbor's goods. Oh, Miss Rowe, I don't even know what the word covet means. How am I supposed to know if I committed if I've broken this commandment or not? I don't even know what it means. Well, it's given you in the next column here on page 77. It tells you in simple form what it means. And it means rejoice in others' good fortune. Rejoice in others' good fortune. That means to be happy when something good happens to someone and it doesn't happen to you. And you really wish it did happen to you, but unfortunately it didn't, right? So when that person shoots 3 baskets or 4 baskets and you didn't get a 1, you should be happy that they got the 3 baskets, right? Let's see. Do not be jealous of others' possessions. I'm guilty of that sometimes. You know, sometimes I'm riding down the road and I see a nice car, and then I wish I had that nice car and I didn't have mine. I'm kind of jealous of the person riding that car. And the one here, do not be greedy. Now, see, that one surprised me. I was surprised, even as a catechist, that was there, because I have never seen that before. But it brought me to a story about Halloween a couple of years ago. I put some candy out on my doorstep before I left for work because the children would come around trick-or-treating before I got home from work. So I put a whole pile of candy out there before I left for work. So it was on the honor system. You either take 1 or 2 pieces. So I got home and I was happy to see that there was absolutely no candy left in the bucket until my neighbor came out. And she said, I said, a lot of kids came around today. And she says, well, not really, she said, but I can tell you what happened to your candy. A trick-or-treater came and I witnessed him putting all of the candy out of the bowl and into his bag. And I said, oh no. I said, you mean none of the other kids got any candy? She said, no. So I said, well, how greedy is that? Now that was intentional. That was an intentional sin, and he broke the 10th commandment. That was nothing more but greed, where you should be going up and taking 1 or 2 pieces, or maybe a piece for your little brother or sister who doesn't go around trick-or-treating. But that was intentional. That was just nothing more than greedy. So I put more candy out, and the children eventually came around. But what can I do about it? There's nothing that I can do about it. He has to make it, or she has to make it right with God, right? So then I got reading to some of these other ones, and I said, let me pick an easier one. And I went to the number 7 one, which was thou shalt not steal, which is pretty obvious, right? So pretty much it's safe to say that if I don't steal money from the bank, or I don't go in and steal a piece of candy from the store, that I haven't broken the 7th commandment. Wrong. Because what does it say here? It says, respect the things that don't belong to others. Right? So that means don't damage anything that's not yours, pretty much. I mean, if you're going to damage someone's personal property, that means that you've broken the 7th commandment. The other one is share what you have with those in need. What does that have to do with stealing? Well, it has a lot to do with stealing, because by taking things and not sharing things, by not sharing what you have is denying someone else the ability to have it. So if you have it and you share it, see, not everyone has everything they need in life. Some people don't realize that some people put their head on a pillow at night and go to sleep hungry. We don't realize that. And we have a way to fix that. We can share what we have. So the seventh commandment, I'm hoping that that boy who took the candy and broke the 10th commandment of being greedy, hopefully when he put that candy in his bag, hopefully he didn't also break the 7th commandment, and hopefully he brought that candy to someone who needed it and didn't break the 7th commandment too. This is all about sharing your light, boys and girls. Share your light. Share the light that you're supposed to share as a person of faith. You know, Jesus is the light. Jesus came to this earth. God sent Jesus here to earth to show us what it was to share the light. You know, if I was to ask anyone to describe Jesus, people would automatically say, oh, he was tall, he had a beard, he had dark hair, he had light eyes, he was Jewish. I think they would describe him like that first. I don't know if they would explain him as giving, faithful, kind, perfect, forgiving. You know, I think most people would say what we call superficial. They would look at the outside. Yeah, I can explain Jesus. Well, you know what? The first thing you have to think about when explaining Jesus is what he had inside, not what he had outside. The same thing that we want to see in you, what you have inside, not what's outside. So, in answer to the question at the beginning, where would you want to be, in a place of lightness or darkness? I think we all want to be in that place of lightness and not in that place of darkness. And I think we want to share our light. I think we want our light to shine. I think we want to do the good things, although sometimes we will do wrong, but we know that God is a forgiving God and will forgive us all the time. And just because Adam and Eve screwed it up for the rest of us, and we were all born with original sin, right? That we can't start over again every time we go to reconciliation and do the right thing, right? Last year at the Summer Academy, we had a song that we sang, and I love it, and I wanted to share it with you here. Let me see. I'll get it going. I love this song because it explains exactly what we learned today. It's This Little Light of Mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Boys and girls, let your light shine. Let people look at you and say, I am a person of faith. Let your light shine. I'll see you again next month. Until then, be good, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.